me thinking about was how much having a retail space has actually completely changed my business. So I took some little notes because y'all know I'll be getting a little bit rambly, and I wanted to make sure I stayed on task for you guys. So what I did is I broke down the pros and cons of having a retail storefront versus having a business model where you just go to farmers markets and craft shows. Okay, so I kind of just did some bullet points to where I could really see where my business is 100% benefiting from having a storefront. And it's going to be, I mean, different for everyone, obviously, but I think most of these things are just going to be the way it is. Most people will say, oh, retail's dead. That is not true. I think retail stores that don't want other retail stores are saying that because retail is not dead. Yes, people shop online. Yes, it's convenient, but people love to shop in a store. So there's no replacing that. So, all right, comparing my retail store to having the business model where you just go to farmers markets and craft shows, my business like quadrupled from doing just markets to having a retail space. So these are the things that I feel have the biggest impact on the growth of my business. So when you have a retail space, you're going to see me looking down. It's just because I made my notes. When you have a retail space, you're open potentially 7 days a week. When you do a market, it's usually once a week. So think about it. I mean, that's just kind of a no-brainer, right? You can only get to your customers, or your customers can only get to you once a week at the farmer's market. Whereas if you have a retail space, potentially 7 days a week, you could have someone come in your door and shop. So just by the nature of being available 7 days a week, you're probably going to make more. The next thing is social proof. So when you have a storefront, that automatically, for the most part, is social proof that you have a legitimate business and a quality product, I would say, for the most part. Most people, if you have a storefront, you're going to have a decent product, or else you're not going to stay in business. So when people see that you have a storefront, it's a form of social proof. And I liken that to looking online and you're wanting to buy something and you see two products that are the same, one with no reviews and one with like 5,000 reviews. And even if it's not a 5-star review, if they have a ton of reviews, you're probably going to buy the product with a lot of reviews versus the product with no reviews. And that's an indication of social proof. So when you have a retail store, that's, and to some degree, your social proof that you are a legitimate business. Because if someone, if you're set up at a farmer's market, have your cute table, have your cute signage, people see you and they're just like, I don't know them, I don't know about that, I've never heard of them, and they might walk past you. But whereas if you have a storefront, they may not know you, they may not have heard of you, but like they're gonna come in a store, it's just a completely different way to present your business, and in a more legitimate, more professional way. I'm not saying farmers markets aren't professional. I've done them and I still do them and have done them for years and will continue to do them for years. But it's just a different, it's just a completely different vibe having a storefront versus a market. So people aren't as afraid to make that purchase. So there's that. Okay, and also in a retail store, you have a wider customer pool because you're gonna have people coming from driving down the street, walking down the street, someone getting their hair done, someone eating at a restaurant, and they're all just going to be around the area, so they may come into your store. So you have a potential larger customer pool, whereas at a market, your customer pool is the market. So, if there's 1,000 people at that market on that day, that's your biggest customer pool is going to be that 1,000 people. I mean, and as we all know, not everybody that goes to a market comes by every booth. It's usually like 1%, so or less than that. So you don't have that random possibility of a customer. You literally are limiting yourself to who is at that market. So there's that. It's just a bigger customer pool for you as a retail space to have more customers come into your store. And this one is the biggest one for me because I got a bad back. So in a retail space, you're at a fixed location. And I know this is like a no-brainer, but you know, if you've never done a market or haven't thought about this yet because you don't have a bad back, one day you might think about it, but you're having to haul your stuff. So when you're in a retail space, your stuff is set on the shelf neatly displayed, and it's just sitting there waiting on the customer very neatly. And then when you go to a market, you have to take your stuff, pack it up, haul it over to the market, set up your tent, set up your tables, set up your displays, and then people are touching it, pulling on it, which, I mean, they do that in a store too, but you know, it's exposed to the elements. Your products go through some things. They'd be going through some things at some markets. So it's not easy on your products. And then at the end of the day, you have to take all that stuff down, take your tent down, your table, haul it back, bring it back to wherever you store it, and put it away again. So there's a lot, there's a lot of back and forth, and just the physical demand. And you're sitting out at a market, it's hot, it's cold, it's raining. And so all of these things come into play when you're doing a market versus having a retail space. There's some sirens going by. I'm gonna let it pass. But yeah, so that would be the biggest thing, is like physically demanding. If you're young and you know it's not hard on you physically to do these markets, then this may not even be a thought in your brain, but at one point, if you continue to do it, it will be, and it will be important to not have to haul this stuff around. And one other thing is the weather. So when you're in a retail space, obviously it doesn't matter whether it's raining or cold or hot, it doesn't matter, people will shop. If you were at a market and it's 105 degrees, not that many people are gonna come out, and you're gonna be killing yourself, like you'll be sweating. I mean, I've done them where I'll just have like sweat just running down my back, and you're dehydrated, you're thirsty and tired and hot, and it's miserable. Or you've been so freezing cold that, like, I've been so cold that my fingers like don't want to work on to use my phone for the square reader. I mean, they'll just freeze and my joints lock up, and it'll be really cold. Or there'll be times when it's raining and you physically can't go to the market because it's raining, and it will ruin your product. Or you have a lot of wind, and then the wind kicks up dirt and dust, which then all that gets on your product. So the weather does have an impact on your markets. So with a retail space, doesn't matter. You're in, you know, your building, so you are safe and secure, and so is your product. So while it sounds like I'm dogging out on markets, I'm not. I love markets. I think it is an amazing way to build a business and to maintain, you know, growing your business. I still do markets to this day. It's just, I feel like it's a difficult business model to sustain long-term without having another option. And some people can do like markets and just online, and that's beautiful. It's wonderful. But a retail space, there's just something magical about having a storefront in a retail space. So I feel like it really did make a difference in my business, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. And you know, obviously I believe in it so much, we're expanding. So there's that. And if you guys have any questions, just put them down below and I will get back with you. And if y'all have any ideas on videos, I'm happy to do them. Happy to help y'all in any way that I can. And I will see y'all in a couple days.